Today, I'm talking with Nick DePaul from Wolfstall Studios. Nick, thank you for joining me. Do you want to tell me a little bit about yourself and where you're from?
Yeah. So I'm Nick DePaul. I currently reside in North Carolina in the U.S. And I've gotten into game dev about a year ago or so. Yeah, it's been a little over a year at this point. And I've always loved video games ever since I was a kid, where I grew up playing games like Kingdom Hearts, going to Call of Duty, and of course Madden, because I used to be a football guy back then. Then after that, I went to college for 4 years in IT, and I've dabbled in coding for a while, because I had to for my degree. I was never a big fan of it at the time, but then, of course, after that, a few years went by, and a good friend of mine released a game actually a little over a year ago at this point, and it just really got me thinking that I really wanted to make a game myself, and it really did inspire me at the end of the day. So I went on YouTube doing tutorials. At first, I jumped to Unreal Engine, and I did not like it. It was way too sluggish for me. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to try Unity. And I fell in love using Unity's engine. And I went through a bunch of tutorials learning it. That was really a lot of my 2024 was basically learning, was like my learning adventure with using Unity, then Blender for making 3D games. And now I'm making a game called Strings of Time. It will be my first game. It's a first-person shooter, and the aesthetic-wise, it's like I'm very Tim Burton inspired. So that's really what the aesthetic vibes are going to be, and the enemies are puppets that came to life. So that is so that's how I ended up on that.
Awesome. So you've been learning the C# and coding that way?
Yep.
Awesome. I used to play Madden 95, I think, back on Super Nintendo a long time ago, too.
Yep.
So do you work in IT right now? Do you have another full-time job?
Yeah, I did, and then back in December, the company was downsizing, so I was laid off at that point. Right now I am looking, but in the meantime, I'm doing this full time essentially. For now, until I find a full time job, and then I can do this like on the back end as a hobby. But yeah, as of right now, this is my full time thing until I find something else.
Okay, so you're working on your first game. Was this your first project, or did you have other ones that you had tried and abandoned before?
Yeah, so I did have another project. So it's actually funny. So at first I was working on this idea, and then I'm like, you know what? I've always loved RPGs. Let me try that. And then I did. I was like, this is for my first game. It's too much. It was just too complicated with doing an RPG, especially for my first go ahead. So I went back to this. Then I went back to this a few months later, and honestly, this project is a different vision than my first one. Because the first go ahead was I was doing it as like I wouldn't say open world. It's more of like an open zone. I was doing something like that, and then I'm like, you know what? I just wanted to make it more linear, more in the confines of like a building or whatever. So that's where I shifted towards was to make it more of like a linear approach.
So you're talking about Strings of Time?
Yeah. Yep.
And you mentioned the story a little bit. Can you tell me? Well, why don't you tell me a little more about the storyline of the game there?
Yeah, so it takes place in an abandoned hospital. Essentially, your character wakes up from a coma, in like one of the patient rooms, and his name's Zach, and he's essentially trying to figure out like why he's there, because he has no idea even how he ended up there. And you're also trying to figure out because puppets came to life and they're trying to kill you. So he's trying to essentially figure out like what is going on, and as he goes through the area, he'll be finding audio logs because a lot of like doctors and nurses will use like tape recorders, or I forget the exact name for them, to take their notes and stuff. So he'll be discovering that to unfold like what happened in the hospital.
And so this is a single player game?
Yep, single player.
Can you tell me some about the mechanics? Is there like a leveling system, an inventory system, these kind of things?
Yeah. So there'll be an inventory system. He'll be finding the character will be it's a first person shooter, so he'll be finding like guns. He'll also be finding basically like melee weapons in the hospital. It's more hospital oriented because I can't just go in there and put in like a sledgehammer because that makes no sense for for the hospital. So he'll be finding like scalpels and stuff like that as well in the hospital.
You mentioned Blender. Are you making all the assets yourself?
Yes.
Or are you using... So you're not using any asset store or anything?
Yeah, right now I'm not using any asset store. So right now, I wanted to use Blender because I feel like a lot of the time when people use assets, now I get it because it does make development a lot faster. But for me, I just want to stand out a little more if I'm making all my own assets. Granted, it does take a long time. I get that, but yeah, I just feel better about using a lot of my own assets. Now, some texturing, I might be taking some assets for textures with like texturing walls and stuff. There's a chance I'm going to do that. But but any textures I do want to take, I will be tweaking them because I do have Photoshop and I have Substance Painter and stuff as well. So if I do need to take any assets, I will be making tweaks in there, but right now I don't plan on doing it, but there is a chance down the line I will.
So you're doing all the animation and everything too?
Yeah.
You're doing those in Blender, or are you doing those in Unity?
I'm doing those in Unity, the animations.
How about sound effects and music?
So sound effects that part will be assets that I'll be getting. Music, I probably gonna want making my own. There's a chance I will hire like a musician to do the music for me. I haven't delved into learning the music aspect yet, so I'm gonna try that first. And if I don't like the results of me doing it myself, then I'll probably be hiring a musician to get that done for me.
Is there anywhere you go look for sound effects in particular?
Yeah, I go to freesounds.org. So I'll go in there, and a lot of those you have to look, but a lot of them are attribution licenses. So essentially, if you grab the sound from there, you just gotta basically like put in the credits or whatever to give them like credit for it.
Are you familiar with Splice?
No.
Splice is mostly for musicians, but it's they also have sound effects, and it's like a credit system. So you subscribe, you get a couple hundred credits, and every sound effect is like a credit. They've got a massive library, so that's a really good place to check out if you're looking for good stuff.
Oh, perfect. Thanks.
On the music aspect too, I love making music. So if you ever want to talk about that or you want some help there, I'm down to help. So
okay, great.
What now? Are you a Windows, a Linux, or a Mac user?
Windows.
Okay.
I've always been Windows. I've never liked Mac. Probably because I grew up on Windows. So me going from Windows to Mac would just throw me off completely. I've never used Linux before, so I have a Steam Deck, but that obviously doesn't count. Granted, it does run on Linux, but I don't really count that. So.
With your game, do you know where you're going to release it?
Yeah, it's going to be on Steam at first. If it does well enough on Steam, I will port it to consoles, but I know console porting is a pain, from what I've heard, and takes a lot of time to do. So, as of right now, it will be Steam, and with the chance for console in the future, but that I can't guarantee at the moment.
So, as far as tooling, you mentioned Unity, you mentioned Blender, Substance Painter, Photoshop. Yep. What other kind of tools are you using? How about your IDE, things like that?
Yeah, so those are the only tools I'm using right now. As I said before, the sound effects I've been grabbing from freesounds.org. I will look at the Splice later. And I have used what is that website called? I can't think of it at the moment, but there was a texturing website I was using just for placeholders. But I can't think of it at the moment. But yeah, those are the only applications I'm using right now.
Do you have a tablet that you use for any of it, or is it all?
No, all on my computer, all on my desktop.
Nice. How about debugging? Do you spend much time troubleshooting and dealing with bugs, and how do you deal with some of that?
All the time. So at first, it would take me forever. I don't use AI for a lot, but I do use it to help me debug, 'cause it will help me. It doesn't always give me the exact issue, but it does help me narrow down, so I don't have to spend forever trying to think of what the issue is. So I mostly use Grok for that, which is Twitter's AI. I'll just essentially give it like the error I'm getting, and if I realize it's code related, I'll give it my code just so it can look at it quickly. That does help me a lot more now, especially with Grok 3. I previously it was terrible, but yeah, that definitely helps me a lot more now.
That was actually going to be my next question, was if you use AI at all. And I've found it's actually a great rubber duck tool, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, even just kind of conceptually, hey, I'm getting some jitter and my layers are popping back and forth, and it'll be like, hey, have you tried this?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it'll give you ideas that, like, you don't even think of. So, no, it's good. It's good for debugging, I find, because I was learning how to use a shader graph a couple weeks ago in Unity, how to make my own shader graph, and I asked Grok, I'm like, yeah, can you walk me through this? And it tried. I'm like, no, I can't do this. I'm like, I have to do Google, you look at using documentation, I watch YouTube videos. It was just better that way, because I know, because I use Unity 6, which is the newest version of Unity, and Grok was telling me something about, like, a master node being in the shader graph. Now, I didn't know what it was talking about, because I'm looking at shader graph, and I see nothing called master node. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I was looking it up, and it brought me right to Unity's documentation. It's like, yeah, we deprecated the master node, like, years ago. I'm like, yep, of course.
With your game, did you write a game design document? Did you try and get that formal with it?
Yeah, I did, but then after that, I just found I think a game design document is good to get you up and started, but then after that, you're not really going to look at it much after. So I do have one all made out with, like, story details and what you're going to get and stuff. What I will say about game design document, it's really good for not doing scope creep because you're basically confined to the document where you're not going to turn into a Duke Nukem Forever where it's going to take like 20 years to make. I know I'm over exaggerating there, but that game took forever to come out. But yeah, I do have one made, and I just don't really find myself looking at it much anymore.
How about code management and like version control? Are you doing that?
Yeah. So I haven't been on GitHub yet. It's funny. The last few days I've been meaning to go on GitHub to really back everything up. So as of right now, no. I know my last iteration of the game, like my first one, I did do that, and then when I completely changed everything to what I'm doing now, I just haven't. But that's actually like my next thing to do, like this week, is to actually like get everything backed up on GitHub, because if I run into any issues, I want to be able to backtrack just in case, especially if I break everything.
Have you looked into Unity's version control? I think there's a free tier that you can store up to so much space.
No, I didn't even know that was a thing with Unity. I will actually look into that after this.
I've used it a little bit because I kind of dabble in Unity, so I don't have any massive projects where I've needed to pay for anything, but I know they have it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely take a look at that today.
When you mentioned a lot of YouTube. Have you tried anything a little more formal, like Udemy courses or books or anything?
Yeah. So I did do a Udemy course. I was learning from GameDev.tv for a little bit because I do find them really helpful. And I found it from Udemy, but then I actually went to their website and did their course through the website because two things: one, it's the same price as Udemy, and two, if you run into any issues, you were able to basically like put a question in the comments of that video, and they would actually have someone like reach back out to you within like a day or two, being like, hey, did you try this or whatever. So that was actually really helpful, more helpful than Udemy in my opinion, because Udemy doesn't really have it to my knowledge. But yeah, they definitely helped me a lot, especially to get the basics down. I use them for both actually Unity and for Blender. They did help me with Blender as well.
Nice. I know Udemy does have, because I have some courses on Udemy myself, they have a Q&A section, and it notifies the course authors, and I don't know how much it impacts the course, but there's like an average. It'll tell you how long it takes, so they have some incentive to reply, but I don't know if they actually pay attention to it.
And also like how long too. Right? Like how long you'll get the reply as well.
Yeah. And the thing with Udemy is you never really want to pay full price. You always want to get those $5 deals whenever they happen. I know with GameDev.tv, occasionally you can find on Humble Bundle, they'll have a big package of GameDev.tv courses for like $15.
Yeah, and I as I said, I found on their website was literally the same price as what Udemy was, so that's why I was like, I'm just gonna do directly to them at that point.
Yeah, I know they have a big Discord too with a lot of people.
Yep.
So, do you have any plans to make it multiplayer, your game, or is it always going to be single player?
No, this one will be multiplayer. Maybe my next game I'll make a multiplayer, but right now this one is just going to be single player. I know multiplayer is like a whole like another beast to tackle.
Definitely. How about replayability of the game? Can you replay it and get different endings or anything, or how many hours of gameplay do you think you'll be able to get out of it?
So right now, I don't have any plans to add like new endings and stuff for the replayability factor. I am gonna have collectibles in the game, so such as finding like miniature puppets that are obviously not enemies and stuff to find. So if you don't find all the collectibles, then yeah, that will be a replayable factor. But as of right now, I don't have any plans for like new endings and such.
The collectibles, are those going to be like Steam integrated achievements?
No. As of right now, no.
Okay. An important question: does your game have any cheat codes?
No cheat codes for now. No.
And you're not working with any publisher,
no,
are you?
It's all me.
Have you considered, or are you looking for a publisher?
No, I'm not going to do a publisher now. I have been dabbling, thinking about doing a Kickstarter, because I do want voice acting in the game for like the main character and for the audio logs I brought up earlier. So I may start a Kickstarter probably in a couple months, if I decide to help fund like getting actual voice actors to voice the characters and such. between like voicing the puppets, because I don't want the puppets to just be silent, because I would make it for a very boring game in my opinion. And have the character voice acted, and then of course the audio logs.
Is there anything you wish you knew before you started, if you were starting over?
Yeah. I wish I knew to work on learning Blender a lot sooner than I did, because I waited a long time before even looking at Blender. I was way too intimidated with it at first. I remember opening it up and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, because I didn't even look at Blender until like 8 months after I started learning Unity and stuff. I really should have just done them both simultaneously. And also, another thing is following the tutorial hell, in my opinion, because I would just I learn better by doing than by reading or even watching. So I would just watch these people like walk me through certain things in Unity or even Blender, and yeah, I'd be following alongside this kind of doing, but I'm not learning anything, because I'm just copying exactly what they're doing. So it was just, and then one day, what I would just start doing at that point, I would watch like a YouTube video. I would watch that without doing anything, because at first I would just watch and then do it at the same time. But then I decided to just watch the whole video and then take what they taught me and actually put it into practice on my own without having to follow along, essentially.
I can I can relate to Blender being incredibly difficult. It's one of those things that over many years I tried and gave up and tried and gave up, and then after like attempt number 5, it finally started to click and make sense. But it's a super powerful tool. I love it for just doing like art kind of stuff.
It's crazy what you can make with it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Where should people go to learn more about your game or to follow you and your project?
Yeah, so you can follow me one of two places, either on Twitter/X, which is Nick DePaul, just my name, and same as my YouTube. It's just Nick DePaul as well. 'Cause I upload a full scale YouTube video once every other week, and then in the weeks between, I'll do a short. I'll also have a short. So every other week you get a full video, and then every other week you get a short as well.
Excellent. Any advice for other people out there aspiring to make their games?
I would say start now. If you're thinking about making a game, just start now. As I said before, look up YouTube videos to at least get like a good foundation. I would, if you want to do coding, then yeah, jump into Unity. But if you're not an expert on coding, then I would say do Unreal Engine to at least do the node based coding. I never liked Unreal Engine, but that was just, honestly, it could have just been at the time where I was using, because I was first learning how to make a game. So it could have just been that. Maybe if I jumped to now, I would have liked it, but back then I just wasn't a fan. And there's also Godot now too. So if you want to do Godot, that's all the power to you.
Have you tried that one?
No, because I didn't even knew that Godot was a thing until like 4 months ago, I think. So I think it was around when Brackeys came back. When he came back talking about Godot, I think that was when I learned what Godot was. But yeah, that was a bit ago.
Do you have any anticipated release date? I know it sounds like you've still got a lot to go.
Yeah, I still got a lot to go. I'm hoping for like beginning to middle of next year. I know it's not going to come this year. I am working on making a demo and getting my Steam page up as well right now. But yeah, I'm thinking probably by mid next year, it'll come out fully.
Excellent. Well, Nick, thank you. It's been really great chatting with you. And for anyone interested in learning more, I'll put the links down below. I'll overlay them on the screen too. And I'll edit in some screenshots and stuff throughout the video. So thanks, Nick. I really appreciate it and getting your insight. And it was good chatting with you.
All right, thanks for having me on.